Yes, I'm here in Pomeroy in the heart of County Tyrone at the Institute of Irish Leadership to meet Alton Cowley and hear his lecture, The Crack Was Good in Cricklewood.
20 years after the famine, England was the greatest industrial nation in the known world. Half the world's coal was raised from her pits, half the world's textiles came from the Lancashire mills, and 1/3 of all manufactured goods travelled on British ships. In every sense, this was a man's world. The dumper and the JCB...
I realised that this story hadn't been told, and I set out to do it, but I was in my late 40s, I had a family in Ireland. I wrote to the Irish Centre in Manchester and asked them would they support me just with an office and a basic living wage long enough to get started on researching the history of the Irish and British construction, because the British construction industry was the largest single employer of Irish male migrant labour. And 500,000 had left in the 50s in equal gender proportions, but most of them had left school before the age of 14, 82% in fact. And yet in 1960 the education budget was £16 million, emigrants' remittances were £15.5 million. So that shows you how important they were to the Irish Exchequer. But that wasn't much comfort to them. So I went over, I worked out of the Irish Centre, I spent 3 years researching the history of the navvies, going to libraries, talking to construction bosses, talking to navvies, talking to their wives, their children, and out of that came the men who built Britain.
As down the glen came McAlpine's men, with their shovels slung behind them. 'Twas in the pub that they drank their sub, down in the Spike you'll find them. They sweated blood and they washed down mud with pints and quarts of beer. And now we're on the road again with McAlpine's Fusilier.
Because 75% of this class that I were at school with, they emigrated, and they went first of all to England. Some of them subsequently went on ahead to America. So it was, it tugged at the heartstrings a bit because of that.
Of course, institutes and buildings such as this across Ireland, but particularly here in Pomeroy tonight, we're in the Institute of Irish Leadership. They give a great platform for stories like this to be told.
Oh, it's just a wonderful place. I was really surprised at the amount of interest that was taken. Now, the lecture was particularly interesting, I think, because I say a lot of the people here had not only third and fourth generation people who had emigrated, but they're probably some of their own brothers and sisters are still living in England. And this centre is just a marvellous effort by the Quinn family, and the local community's participation is wonderful.
The crack was good in Cricklewood. We never left the crown. There was glasses flying and biddies crying when Paddy was going to town. Oh mother dear, I'm over here, and I never will go back. What keeps me here are the rakes of beer, the women, and the crack.
But one old man wrote me a very touching letter. He wrote it on a pulled out page of an A4 spiral notebook, a reporter's notebook, you know, and shaky handwriting in biro. And it said, "Congratulations on your book. You told it as it was. It brought back anger, sadness and tears. It also brought back memories of pride, joy and laughter, of men who earned their bread by the sweat of their brow." And that's the highest accolade I've ever been given. And this is in every third level institution in the English speaking world.